Hello, this is Lucy McCall of Avala Mesa Miracles. This is As Above, So Below, and talking about May 21st through 28th, 2021 already. So there's a lot going on this week. We've got Saturn going stationary retrograde, and that brings in it's like editing. Everything has to be re-looked at. Make sure it works. Make sure we've got it right. That kind of thing. So it's a lot of going over things, and it goes on for a few months. And we're just in that period of time. And then at the same time, well, within a week anyway, Mercury goes retrograde a week from Saturday. So I'll be talking about that more next week. But Mercury and Saturn together definitely are the editors. They're the ones that make it so that our words are correct when we speak and when we write. And they're the ones who will get on to people like me to put periods and commas and things. So that's the kind of energy we'll be having for a little bit of time, especially when Mercury goes retro. And we're also having an eclipse, and it will be a lunar eclipse, and it will be early in the morning on Wednesday, like around 5. We'll be seeing something of it. I didn't look at the eclipse path precisely, but the full moon happens precisely at 5:14 a.m. in this region of the world, Mountain Standard Time. So this eclipse is conjuncting the constellation of Centaurus, and it is in Western Sagittarius, and we're in a place of it's actually a pretty good full moon, though eclipses always have their reputation of being shadowy and somewhat difficult. But the Anuruddha or Centaurus one is one of happiness and joy and celebrating, and the people who are natives to that are very brilliant and very friendly and happy, and they hold love as a very wonderful place to be within themselves. They hold that up as a lodestar for themselves, and so it's important and happy kind of one. And then this eclipse conjuncts Mercury, and Mercury will be retrograding back over that point. Once it retrogrades, it'll be going over the eclipse point. So we're going to be having an interesting time for sure. And we do have a bunch of squares this week. We don't have any trines between the major planets. But we definitely have the squares. Now, Sun square Jupiter, which is today, has a lot to do with dealing with authority issues and getting in practicality, and also maybe overdoing it. Sometimes Jupiter tends to want to overdo things when it's squared. So we have to watch out for the overdoing aspect of ourselves. And then the Mercury square Neptune this week is one of a lot of mental confusion quite often. And this Mercury retrograde starting next week will be involving Neptune. And my experience is that when we have a Mercury retrograding with Neptune involved, it can be spacey, it can be unclear, people space out about things. Just have to be very careful not to. Neptune also, Mercury square Neptune, this is like not really hearing what people are saying, and maybe you're not even saying things well enough for anyone to hear it. And so it's a very intense little aspect. And the other thing is we have Venus square Neptune, and Venus square Neptune is one of unclear about love often. Where people think that something's going on that isn't going on, whether it be betrayal, or that they think someone cares about them more than they do, or any of that kind of sad kind of alignment, but it's also where we can delude ourselves about who this person is, and we don't really know them, and then it all becomes clear later after commitments have been made. It can be tough. And then Mercury conjunct Venus, now that can be very wonderful, except that it is being squared by Neptune. So I would say most relationships are going to struggle with clarity in their expression with each other in the next week. And the eclipse is going to bring that out a little more. And Mercury retrograde will bring it out even more. So expect about 3 weeks of, 3 to 4 weeks of people not being extremely clear about things. And also what can happen with the Saturn influence being stationary is it can really make it so that whatever is being said is like it's been written in stone. And so we have to be careful not to say things that are going to burn a bridge with some kind of relationship. So we have to be on top of it really in the next 3 weeks about communication. And there, of course, is so much Gemini right now with the Sun in Gemini and the Venus in Gemini, North Node in Gemini, the eclipse itself, Mercury in Gemini, lots of Gemini, all about communication, and also the sense of wanting to finally, take off the mask. Gemini rules communications, like take off the mask, so you can actually hear what another is saying and see what you're saying, and read lips, and all those things that we used to get to do, and but it may not necessarily be time to take the mask off, so just be careful with the darn mask. The blessed mask. Be careful with the mask, because it may not be entirely time. Listen to your intuition and whatever the laws are too. So that's another thing. It's like the lifting of the mask is happening. So but it's squared. So it's like, is it time yet? Well, I guess we'll find out soon. So let's see. Now to start with, we've got today. The moon is close to Uttara Phalguni, which is Sidereal Virgo, and this is one of, it is a marriage type day in a lot of ways, of making commitments with others. But like I said, it might be an unclear time to make commitments. And moon is squaring Mercury early in the morning, and moon opposes Neptune a couple hours after that. The sun squared Jupiter brings in a lot of responsibility and needing to get a lot of things done that we've been putting off. It also can bring the desire to overdo things. So we have to watch out for that. And then moon trine Pluto, 1:56 p.m. And then starts a void of course period that happens until 7:35 p.m. when the moon goes into Libra. And this is a time between 1:56 p.m. and 7:35 p.m., 6 hours or so, where we might be really getting to see the truth of something. Things might be coming revealed to us, and that revealing will actually come more after the void of course completes. So around 7:35 you might get some kind of enlightenment about something. And then moon in conjunct Jupiter at 8:59 p.m. Today, this evening, is kind of an adjustment. It's like this thing where you really want to go to bed, but on the other hand you want to add some hours to your evening, and it can be fun, but it can be exhausting later. The moon trine the sun at 9:46 p.m. is great for communication with each other, so that's good. May 22nd, Saturday, the moon is close to Corvus the Crow, or Hasta the Hand, and this is a day of service and giving and wisdom and psychic awareness. However, we've got a Mercury square Neptune today, which means our psychic ability may be somewhat diluted or diluted. It's very watery. It's something you wouldn't want to make a commitment to, whatever inspiration you're having, your dream, your ideas. I mean, it might be okay to write it down. It might be okay to paint it or to have a vision or do those things. But it is not the time to 100% trust the words of your mind or somebody else's necessarily. So But it's going to be like that for a few weeks. So here we are. We're kind of starting it. And then May 23rd is Sunday, and the moon is close to the sparkly star Spica, or Chitra, also called the rainbow, and it's very artistic. Sunday is a good day for the arts. On this day also Saturn goes retrograde, so it's one of those times where you might overwork the art, overdo the song, overdo it, and lose that immediate inspiration. But on the other hand, if you give it the time, which Saturn rules time, to go over things, you will come up with something good. So whatever it is, try not to turn it into whatever you need to turn it into until you have it really looked at over and over again, your work. And that includes things like taxes and, stuff like that, and contracts. There might be some confusion with contracts in the next few weeks. So just make sure you got to read them over and over again right now. It's a good time to make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, so May 24th is Monday, and this is when the moon is close to Swati or Taurus. This is a moon of knowledge and wisdom and gathering information. It's a really good one. It's one of my favorite. Moon in conjunct the sun can be a little stressful, and in conjunct Chiron as well. Let's see, is that making a... Yes, it is. It is making a yod. So that's better to have a full-on yod. So there's a real focus on that day between the wisdom and psychic ability of Moon and Scorpio at Arcturus into a 150 degree to Chiron, and then 150 degree to the sun. So this one has a lot to do with our healing process and what we need to do for healing. And it's just a day. That's just one day. It's on Monday that we might have some wake up about that. So you might get some kind of feeling to do a lot more about your health and healing. And you might come to a conclusion about the famous vaccination thing, what to do about that. And so there you are. It's going to be a day about healing on Monday, and also a day of wisdom. Moon opposed Uranus at 4:15 p.m. That's rebellious. And then Moon square Saturn, which activates the Uranus-Saturn square that is ongoing and only a couple of degrees apart right now, is very much... There's going to be some kind of radical thing coming up on that day, on Monday. And so then we also have, so that's major. We have a yod and a T-square on that day. So that's a pretty intense day, Monday. And it's pretty erratic, back and forth about things. May 25th is Tuesday. And this is when the moon is close to Vishaka. The moon goes from Scorpio to Sag, early Sag, late in the night. There are trines this day with the moon trining Mars, the moon trining Neptune, and it's a grand water trine. So now we have a grand water trine this day. That's a good thing. It's really good for intuition and good for feelings, emotions. It's good for if you've been stuck emotionally to clear out the soul and let that be stronger for yourself. And also this day, Moon sextile Pluto, again, things are revealed. Moon squared Jupiter late at night. Maybe you can just go to sleep before that happens, because that can be like raiding the refrigerator when you shouldn't or something, or having a couple of drinks when you shouldn't or something like that. So watch out. And then Wednesday, the moon is close to Centaurus, Anuradra. And it also goes into being close to Jyeshta. And at 5:14 a.m. in the morning is the eclipse. And the eclipse is a lunar eclipse, and I think we'll be able to see it somewhat. It's mainly full on in California, so we're going to get a little bit of the lunar eclipse visual early in the morning. And of course, many cultures say do not stand under an eclipse, and other cultures say oh yeah, let's look at the eclipse. And what I feel about eclipses is we must respect them. So do respect them. And respect this one too, because like I said, it could be a pretty friendly one, and yet it's involved with so many aspects and with Mercury and stuff that could be a confusing time until the next eclipse comes up, which will be, when the new moon is in June, 2 weeks from there. So we'll just ride that wave. And then we have also, the moon does get into Jaishta later on in the day, which is also in Tares, and this starts a period of time where it's really good to clean out things, whether it's your brain, your closet, just, your yard, whatever it is, clean it up. And then Thursday is May 27th. The moon is close to Jaishta and Tares again, but it moves on into the Mula, the galactic center. So the galactic center is always a time of us going deep into our soul and taking a good look at things. And on this day also we have a bit of a T-square again. Moon opposed Venus and moon with Venus square Neptune. Let's see. That's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. It will be involving the eclipse energy somewhat because the eclipse is just the day before. So I would say relationships are going to take some interesting energies right now. We're going to have to really deal with some things with that. And probably the best thing to do with it is, even though you may not like the creativity you come up with at this time, is to go ahead and do it anyway. If it's only the beginning of something, if it's only the gessoing of the canvas, if it's only the beginning of the frame of the room or something, it's a good time to just start it and try to make sure the foundation is strong, and you'll have to check it a couple of times just because the planets are spacey right now. And then on Friday, we've got the moon close to Purvasheta, and this is sidereal Sagittarius. It is a day of wisdom and knowledge. It's a really good day to go forward, move forward. You have to watch out for deceit on this day. And that could be just deceiving yourself. So watch out for deceiving yourself. That's always a good thing to watch out for anyway. And Mercury conjuncts Venus, so it has a lot to do with the love issues and also communications. So again, this week one must be very careful not to say anything that will be written in stone in somebody else's mind. It's a week where bridges could be burned, and unless you want to do that, unless there's something you really need to eradicate from your life, better be careful. You don't want to do that to the people you love. So, or something you love. So, okay, so, I was thinking today it'd be good to talk a little bit just about tonics. But to start with, well, there's many things to talk about as usual, but, there's a huge hound's tongue growing right outside my door. And though hound's tongue is interesting, I think it's just gorgeous. It has these weird little purple-blue flowers at the top. And you can look at it, and if you know anything, if you can relate to the plant borage or the plant comfrey, you can see it's in the same family. And though borage and comfrey are a lot more medicinal than this one, it's medicinal in a way, and that it has some of the attributes of comfrey, in that it can heal infection and can, and it has some bone repairing type abilities, but you don't want to do much. You don't want to do much of it. It's kind of toxic, so it's like what you call a low dose. So don't take too much, or you just will not feel good if you ingest too much. So, and especially if you're taking any kind of drugs, pharmaceutical drugs that affect the liver, it could be a very bad idea. So, but what I mainly use it for, I don't use it internally. I have a comfrey plant that if I need to do something, I use that. But this, and even that one, you have to be careful with people who are taking liver drugs. But this plant, the flower essence of it is for self-esteem issues, for healing self-esteem issues. And I thought, well, that's perfect. I often have plants come right around my door especially the wild ones, they just decide to live there for a year or something when I'm going through something. So yeah, I've been doing self-esteem issues, tra-la-la, how it is. But the thing is that this plant is really, really good for that. Just go ahead and soak those flowers in water, and then you drink a very small amount of the water because you're doing it kind of homeopathically. And you let those flowers just soak in the sun. You don't eat the flowers. You just drink the delicate water that it's made. And it can help with deep, in just wherever you got your self-esteem issues going on. It can help with that. Now, another thing to talk about is that the sun now has gone into Gemini, so we're now in the realm of the nervous system, or communication, the nervous system of the planet, the nervous system of ourself. And it's a great time, especially this week, we're needing to do annuals before the full moon happens. Especially today is good because it's in Virgo. But oat straw is one of the best plants for healing nervous system issues. It also does bone and muscle, but it's really good for the mind. It's really good for the mental process. And so oat is so easy to grow. You can just get some oat seed. You can get it at a feed store. You can buy it. It's used as a cover crop these days because it does such wonderful things with kind of loosening up the soil, so you can put something else in there later. And it actually harvests pretty early, like around August, if you do it now. But putting that seed in the ground and then letting it grow and then chopping it up later, cutting it down and cutting it into tea is so good if you're trying to heal your nervous system of any kind of problem that might be going amiss. It's really high in minerals and calcium, magnesium, and things that are good for healing nervous system, bone, and muscle. So that's the main plant I wanted to talk about in terms of the Gemini energy we are now in at this point. So there's more to say. Maybe next week I'll talk about the spring tonics. I have to have a time limit here. Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Stay centered somehow. Okay, adios.